Giving all praise, honor, glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM, RACHAQUADASH, the one to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and the sincere Shalom to the Aquinas out there pushing the sincerity and the truth and the sound doctrine. I was kind of looking at this one video today, and it was talking about I cannot remember the channel name for whatever reason, but it was talking about lean gut. Lean. If you never heard of lean, that cough syrup, that scissor, that purple drink, stuff like that. Sure y'all heard about that. And I think one of the main people that was promoting that stuff was, if y'all remember, 3-6 Mafia. You know what I mean? They ain't the only ones, obviously, because they still promoting that stuff, but they were the ones that was really, really promoting that stuff, But you see here, this is a product, of that, right? It's a difference between like a lean gut and a gut where you're just a big person, right? And it's like I said, I just took a few screenshots out of the video that I watched, and like I said, he was going into this lean gut stuff. And, it's really, really a disturbing thing, man. So what I'm going to do is what I did was, because I was always, well, not always, but upon looking at that video, I got a little curious because I never really looked at how this inflammation starts. You know what I'm saying? How all this inflammatory stuff, even starts. We do know it's, when you're talking about inflammation, you talk about inflammation, you talk about infection and bacteria and stuff like that. I'm not a health expert, so I'm just going off of what I know, man. Right. And I'm not really going to go dive too deep into this, just based off of what I read. All right. On this lean gut and what causes this major inflammation. Right. Because that's what you're looking at right here is serious inflammation. Right. Serious inflammation. Right. Abnormal, very abnormal, right? But before that, I'm not gonna go there yet. Let's go ahead and get a scripture, Micah chapter 2, all right, in verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction, right? So this is what we tell you people, man. Arise and depart, for this isn't your rest. I went into the true meaning of this scripture not too long ago, but for the sake of this video, this is pretty much what we want to stick with, because these scriptures go manifold. All right, so just putting that out there. But we tell you people, we tell you people out there, you so-called Black, Latino, Native Americans, arise and depart from this world, or you're going to end up with a lean gut, man. If you don't end up with a lean gut, you're going to end up with something else. So either way, it's polluted. All right? Either way, it's polluted. It's going to destroy you with a sore destruction. All right? How people have become, and we know that lean stuff, right? We know that's heavily promoted, like everything else, pretty much. Everything else that's demonic and negative is promoted on so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, but that lean specifically Negroes. All right. We know that this is a spiritual thing, and it makes sense, but when you read the scriptures, it said we're going to become a proverb, a byword, and an astonishment among all nations. You don't really see a lot of Moabites walking around with lean guts. Okay. We got a neighbor that's walking around just like that. Like the picture I just showed, they're walking around just like that. Yellow eyes and everything. That jaundice stuff, yellow eyes, everything. Right? It's ridiculous. You don't see the Jewish lean gut. You don't see that. You're not going to. All right? You don't even really see many Edomites with lean guts. you'll have them, but you don't really see many Edomites with lean guts. The Edomites that you will see is guts that come from, you know, they just big. You know what I mean? Which is not good at all. I'm not saying having any gut is good, but that lean gut is a whole, you know, different, like, kind of like monster right there, man. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the AI chat that I had, because after that, you know, this is a long list. We're gonna kind of go through this a little bit, but not to the fullest. This is a really long. Yeah, look at that, King of Relaxation. Yeah, we're gonna go up. All right, so we just kind of go to skim through this, because this is a kind of like a long chat that I had with this Google AI. Just, you'll gather information for the video. So I said, what exactly, you know, is lean? You know, what exactly is it? This is information that I never really looked up at all. All right, so I knew I had an idea what lean was, but, you know, with actually what exactly it is and how it causes that inflammation, something that I never knew. All right. Again, we don't claim to know everything. All right. That's why we always say look things up. All right. Very important to self-educate. All right. So lean, also known as purple drink, scissor, or dirty Sprite. I've never heard of the dirty Sprite. I actually never heard of that. It says is a dangerous, often illicit recreational drug mixture combining prescription strength cough syrup containing codeine and promethazine with soft drinks and hard candy, right? Popularized in hip hop culture, it acts as a sedative, causing euphoria, a characteristic leaning posture of users. That's why it's called lean, because it causes you to lean, right? Says the ingredients, the mixture typically consists of codeine-based cough syrup. All right, codeine-based cough syrup, which is an opioid that relieves pain, and promethazine, all right, an antihistamine. That's an antihistamine that enhances the sedative effects. Soda, often Sprite, and candies like Jolly Ranchers, right, are added for taste to create a purple color. You'll hear a lot in a few 3-6 Mafia songs. They'll mention Jolly Ranchers and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the reason. All right. It says often experience. So this is the effects. Users often experience euphoria, relaxation, and a slowed feeling. The name lean comes from the tendency of users to have difficulty standing up straight. Dangers. Because it is an opioid, chronic use or high doses of lean can lead to severe addiction, dependence, and fatal overdoses. It is most frequently abused by teens and young adults ages 13 and 21, or between 13 through 21, often in social or party settings. All right, misconceptions: despite its sweet taste and appearance, it is not safe. It can cause harmful damage to a person's physical and mental health, no doubt. All right, so what's the next one? So I said, why do the users' stomachs become so enlarged? And this is before I knew it was called lean gut. All right. Again, I don't do very much research on this, so that's why I don't really know these terminologies and stuff like that. I don't even really go into the health aspect of a lot of things. You never see me do videos on health or anything like that, because that's not my lot. All right. This is really isn't my lot. All right. I'm just, like I said, I'm just learning as I go. Right. So why do the users' stomachs become so enlarged? Right. That's what I asked. The enlarged stomachs, often seen in chronic lean users, frequently referred to in the street culture as lean gut, is primarily caused by a combination of severe digestive slowdown and extreme caloric intake. All right. caloric intake, right? So here we go. Opioid-induced constipation, OIC. All right. So when you look at those huge lean guts, you're looking at a walking, I don't know, if constipation was a person, I guess, right? Codeine is an opioid. Opioids bind to receptors in the gastrointestinal tract, okay, which paralyzes and slows down the muscles of the intestines. See, that's crazy. So it seizes up all your. Let's keep reading. It says this severely delays gastric emptying and stops normal bowel movements, right, leading to chronic severe constipation, solid waste and gas back up in the digestive tract, Salakia. It says causing the abdomen to look tightly distended and bloated. Yeah, these things, when I don't know if anybody that played the video game Left 4 Dead remind me of those boomers. All right, that's what these people look like, right? They bloated, full of toxic, you know what I mean? They're just full of toxic waste and bile and all this other stuff, man. Right? Antihistamine compound effects. Promethazine, the antihistamine component in the syrup has I don't know what that is, cholinergic properties. Okay. It says this further dampens the body's involuntary digestive reflexes. Okay. Exacerbating the intestinal slowdown caused by codeine. Damn. Massive sugar and caloric load. Lean is typically mixed with the large quantities of sugary soda like Sprite, candies like Jolly Ranchers, mask the bitter taste, all right, in the medicine. Yep. Drinking high fructose corn syrup, which obviously has continuously introduces thousands of empty calories into the body, which, knowing a little bit that I know about, the whole sugar and the pancreas and all that stuff it can cause bacteria, right? Large amounts of sugar, like that, leads to rapid weight gain, specifically favoring the accumulation of visceral fat, which wraps around the internal organs and pushes the abdominal wall outward. Damn. So again, it comes from tissue and stuff like that. Makes sense. Severe fluid retention. Heavy chemical processing of codeine and promethazine places stress on the liver, right, and kidneys, right. This can alter the body's ability to regulate fluid balance, causing systemic bloating and water retention and the abdominal tissue. It's insane, man. This is just some sick stuff, man. Like I said, when you really read into this, it's just like, this is some really sick stuff that to be introduced to people in general, right? This should show you how much of a devil Esau Edom is, right? Why would they dare introduce? Why would somebody righteous allow this type of music to be pushed out there, promoting this garbage? This is sickness, man. This is absolute sickness. Everything that I just now read. Look at this. The stark visual contrast of lean gut occurs because the user may lose muscle mass and fat in their arms, legs, and face due to a drug-induced lack of proper nutrition, leaving them looking physically thin everywhere except for a large, protruding, and swollen midsection. It is literally inflamed. You're literally inflamed. That is inflammation. All right. And this is what I said. It seems like, just for at this point, I was just kind of messing around. It seems like that's mainly promoted to Black/African American people. Why is that? That shouldn't be promoted. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't be promoted. It says, but it's not. It's not a result of corporate marketing, which that is corporate marketing, because later on down here, this is what it said. It says, but rather a complex intersection of music history, subcultural trends, and media amplification. Now, again, we know this is just AI, so I'm not going to go back and forth and argue with a computer. But we know media is ran by who? Media is ran by those rats, right? So this is marketing. This is more so just the destruction of us, right? That's all. They want us as far away from the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI as possible. That's what all this is. So like I said, I'm going to skip all this. And by the way, like I said, and something I just now knew, I always knew about chopped and screwed music. I always figured there had to be something that deal with that. The chopped and screwed music, DJ Screw, right? It said he pioneered a signature music style called chopped and screwed, which initially slowed down the tempo and distorted the audio to mimic the sedative effects of the drug. Yeah, it puts you in a sort of a trance, in a daze, pretty much. When you listen to that chopped and screwed. Even though I like chopped and screwed, it's we have the spirit of the Lord. You know what I mean? So it's certain things that we could just look past us. I mean, if it's not music, it's gonna be something else. So you can easily say, yeah, this is why I don't you listen to chopped and screwed, man, because there's nothing but demons. Okay, well you watch television. You might even play video games. All of this stuff brings demons. You know what I mean? What you do? You ain't gonna sit up there and tell me, yeah, I don't listen to music at all. It ain't just the rap. It's that R&B too. It ain't just that, man. See, people ain't thinking, man. It's not just rap. It's not just hip hop. It's all the BS that's out here, man. Social media, So what else are you doing, right? But yeah, that makes sense. As far as that chopped and screwed stuff, it sounds. That's pretty much what it sounds like. You know what I mean? As far as where they were going, leaning towards. Dangerous illusion of safety. Many users mistakenly believe lean was a safer alternative to street drugs like heroin and crack. It says because the base ingredients originate from a pharmacy bottle. Yeah. Well, it says a false sense of security was created. Okay, yep, makes sense. Now, these are 4 Jakes that they just outright named. These are 5 because it said Lil Wayne. 4 Jakes that died by this stuff, man, or help accelerate their death. Right, Jake. How come it didn't? It's just I know it's just 5 of them, but how come it didn't name an Edomite? Right, and it said in the black community, but this thing set up there said, well, it's not corporate. Yeah, it sounds like it to me. Sounds like it to me. All right, so, and that's what I was it said, but corporations still allow it to be to just like I said, just messing around. I was curious to see what AI was going to say. Corporations still allow the music to be published, to influence the people. They have more than enough power to end that. They at least do. They run the shit. They don't have to do that. Right? They don't have to do that. But as AI goes into, like I said, I'm just skimming through this because I've been on this a little longer than I wanted to. Skimming through this. Artistic persona versus reality. This is literally called so rapping about blowing each other away, purple drink, scissor, and all this other crap, right? That stuff is looked at as art. And that's what these niggas rap about today. These up and coming rappers. What do they all rap about? You know what I mean? The the positive stuff never really sells very well. And there's a reason for that. Right? They call that art. That's what's called art. That's what's called culture. And that's what they label black culture. So this is why we say that black culture is garbage. Because that black culture is scissor and purple drink and lean guts. You know what I mean? That's what black culture is. Lean gut. So next time you look at next time a nigga comes up to me and say black culture, I'm gonna have this picture, I'm gonna have them pictures saved. And I'm gonna show them and I'm gonna be like, look, this is what black culture teaches. This is what black culture promotes. Having lean guts. Right? So when you look at a lean gut, you're looking at a walking septic tank. You look at somebody with a massive lean gut, you're looking at it's a massive septic tank. It's a walking biohazard. It's trapped waste, it's inflammation, and you're literally about to explode. This is why when dead bodies, right? If they sit, they swell up. That's what these people's stomachs is doing. It's almost like as if they're dead. Pretty much are, because the organs have shut down. They're not even working. The gastrointestinal organs and your livers and all that stuff they're damaged. They're either damaged or not working. You're pretty much dead, and that's why you're swelling up now, right? But no bowel movements or nothing like that. It gets rid of all that stuff. Entertainment versus endorsement. Oh goodness. So what they do is, and this makes sense. Corporations legally shield themselves by treating music as a fictional product. As a fictional product. Let me get another scripture real quick. Right? I think it was Psalm 50. Psalm 53. Or was it 58 and 3? Psalm 58 and 3, I believe. Yes, it was. It's Psalm 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. Right. Yeah. So going back to this, it said corporations legally shield themselves by treating music as a fictional product, similar to movies or even video games. Let's see here. A movie studio is not blamed for promoting murder when it distributes an action film or a horror film, right? Similarly, record labels argue that they are simply selling a narrative or an artistic persona, not a literal instruction manual. Like I said, because of this, the industry relies heavily on parental warnings and explicit tags to shift the responsibility onto the listener. That's Esau, man. That's Esau. So meaning shit. So meaning it's Jake's fault. Yeah. If they want to listen to it, that's on them. Well, we wouldn't have to listen to it if you didn't. You promote this stuff, and now you shift the blame off of you and leave it up to us. So when we listen to it, now it's on us, and now that's just our problem. That's just Esau, man. Do you see what this thing just now said? That's literally just Esau. They do something. Now the blame is off of them. Doesn't it sound like slavery? Now we should just love everybody. You know what I mean? Now we should just love everybody. See, that's just Esau, man. Right? And like I said, just messing around, I said the fact that they call it artistic and even fictional shows the world that we live in. It says the fact that they can get away with saying it's fictional when they themselves are actively doing it. And what I meant to say was in the video, they're actively doing it in real life too. It says lean literally isn't fictional, right? And it says you were pointing out the exact friction point where corporate legal strategies clash with real world human tragedy, right? And it makes a whole lot of sense. Yep, makes a whole lot of sense. So, like I said, I'm not gonna really go much more into this. Yeah, it causes something called megacolon, and I've never heard of that. That's crazy. It's I'm reading right here. I'm reading right here. It says this can progress to a fatal condition. Well, up here it says because codeine completely paralyzes the intestines. Waste stops moving entirely. In extreme cases, the colon becomes so packed with hardened, solid waste that it stretches out of proportion. Never heard of that, but it makes a whole lot of sense. I wasn't shocked that I heard that because I'm like, well, yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. It says this can progress to a fatal condition called toxic megacolon. Never heard of that. It says where the large intestine rapidly expands, traps massive amounts of gas and feces, and loses its ability to contract. Right? If untreated, the pressure causes wow. The pressure causes the bowel to rupture. Yep. Leaking toxins into the bloodstream and causing septic shock. There's this other thing that I didn't know, which this was called. I think it's called ascites. Never heard of that. It says prolonged abuse of the chemical compounds and prescription syrup damages the liver. When the liver begins to fail, it can no longer produce essential proteins, causing a massive backup of pressure in the abdomen's blood vessels. Right, this results in, again, I think that's called ascites or maybe ascites, something like that. I don't know. It says a condition where gallons of pale yellow fluid literally fill the peritoneal cavity. The stomach swells to an enormous, rock-hard, pregnant-like appearance. Now, the video, it says strictly due to trapped fluid rather than fat, which fat has something to do with that too, obviously. But I was looking at the video, and when you look at somebody with lean gut, again, they look like they're 8 to 9 months pregnant. It looks bad. It looks bad, and it looks even worse when they have those yellow jaundiced eyes. Man, it's just, they're literally walking biohazards. And like I said, due to Esau being a devil that he is, obviously that he's gonna shift the blame off of him. You the ones that are in control of this stuff, man. The media is controlled by you devils, and now all of a sudden it's up to us, right? But when we don't want a vaccine, right? All of us now, that's not up to us. Now that's mandatory. Or else you're not going to be able to, do this, that, and the third if you don't have a vaccine. Okay, well now that's not up to us. But a poison that you push out there, now that's up to us to, that's their choice now. You devils got a lot to pay for, man. You know what I mean? And I have no idea where you people are coming from. When you sit up there, damn, I went on to, sheesh. I went on a lot with this. You devils have a lot to pay for, man. right? You really do. I did not expect this video to be this long, but this is one of the videos that get like that. Yeah, y'all got a lot to pay for. And what I was getting ready to say is, I don't understand where people get the fact that we're in a new covenant. I'm going to tell you something right now, man. If we catch anybody, right? If they catch in the new covenant in the kingdom of heaven, if they catch anybody doing something even remotely close to creating scissor, lean, they getting executed publicly, shamed publicly, executed. He's just going to roll with that, man. That is not going to fly at all in the new covenant, man. All right, at all. Right. So, anyway, that's pretty much all I got on this, man. You know, this world we live in is very, very polluted, and you devils have got to go, right? You devils have got to go. Esau, Edom, your time is short, and that's exactly why you're doing this. Exactly what you're doing. That's exactly why you're giving Jake lean and stuff like that, because you want them further and further and further away from the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM. But what you don't know is that it wasn't meant for them anyway. Right? It wasn't meant for them anyway. That's what you don't know. You think Satan is just giving you these instructions, blindly, and you just going with it. But Satan already knows what the hell the deal is, man. That purple drink and that lean and all that stuff, chopped and screwed, and the weed and whatever else people smoke now these days, whatever else people is on, the opioids and whatever else. Yeah, they're demons and it's demonic. But who are demons controlled by? Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. Everything is meant for a purpose. In case you didn't know, watch this. All right, watch this. And this is going to be the last scripture, and I'm going to close it. In case you didn't know, right? Scissor was created by the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, man. That's just what it is. So we say things that you Christians are absolutely afraid of saying. Proverbs 16:4. The Lord has made all things for himself. It said all things for himself, right? Yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil. Let's get this in another translation, right? The Lord has made everything for his own purposes. So, the lean, he created lean to do what? To pollute the body that he gave you. He can do that. That's just what it is. He just so happened to put the spirit on Esau to do it. So we have somebody to hate. That's just what it is. It says even the wicked for the day of disaster. So all this stuff, this society and the wicked is created for the day of evil. They were created for the day of disaster. Right? So that's all I got on this, man. Giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. Shalom.